Everybody, this is Live AJ here, and I'm going to be reviewing what I consider to be Benchmade's best multi-tool. And I'm no Benchmade expert, but it might be their only multi-tool. And you're looking at it right now and saying, that's no multi-tool, that's a knife. Well, I'm here to prove you otherwise. And let's get right into it. This is the Benchmade Triage model 916. And first I'm going to start by talking about the knife family, we'll call it, that Benchmade has produced here. And there's several different models, and I believe this is a good way to lay out some groundwork. And I only have one to display, I'm sorry, but if you have any other questions that need answering or some visuals, go onto Benchmade's website. You'll get all the information you need from there. So this is, as I said, the 916 model. Now, this is obviously an orange handle with a stonewash finish blade. Benchmade also makes a black handle, black blade. Oh, and this is a plain edge model. They also come with serrations. Now, that's a lot already. You can get just about any different variation you want. You could get a black blade, orange handle, serrations on any of them, basically any combination you want on any of them. And what makes the 916 different from the 915, and I'll talk about this later in the features, is this flat tip used for prying or screwdriver or whatever. I'll talk more about that in a second. And that's the 916. The 915 has more of a modified sheep's foot blade, meaning it's fairly blunt, but it's not completely flat like this one. So that's the difference. Benchmade also makes automatic versions of these knives. Their blades are a little bit different. They're more of a defensive style blade with an actual sharp tip for piercing or stabbing. Otherwise, aluminum handles with G10 overlays. These are G10 full G10 scales. And again, if you want more visuals, maybe I'll post some pictures in here. I'm not sure. I was actually going to do this video, gosh, 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't feeling it really. I guess I got interrupted. It just wasn't going very well, and the time was very long. And hopefully, it doesn't go this long this time. Anyhow, so that covers the different models of this. But a multi-tool, you're saying, well, that's a knife. Well, it is, but it's got multi-purposes. So let me talk about the features and the philosophy of this knife, what its use is. And I guess we'll start with the use. And with this blunt tip, why would you want a knife with a blunt tip? Well, there's lots of reasons, and this is actually why I got the 916. I wanted a fully blunt tip. This knife, I can't quit doing that. This knife is designed for paramedics, EMT, EMS, primarily. Rescue knife is what it's designed for, resulting in these orange handle scales. That's their first philosophy, is easy to see, obviously universal rescue orange. It says it's, plain as day there. But they do look cool, I've got to say, and that's basically why I got it. Cool, and it's obviously less threatening than a black knife. But they're geared more towards the paramedics, people who are going to be, first responders, rescuing someone who do not want to accidentally stab someone while they're cutting a seatbelt off or their pant leg, to get to a fracture, something like that. Makes sense, right? The 916 is advertised, as I said, with that blunt tip, as this one is, because it is the 916. And it's got a, let me show you, double bevel. And I'm going to try and do this a bit. See how it looks crooked like that? Let me focus here a second. And what that does is add strength. And let me show you another view here. We'll get to that cool little feature later. You can see how, look at that, it's off-centered. That is the way it's supposed to be. You see that, how it, I mean, that's just the way the blade is designed. It adds strength, and Benchmade will say that you can use that tip for as a screwdriver, light prying, you know, whatever it may be. Now, obviously, respect the fact that it is a folding pocket knife, and it's not going to do the tasks that a designated flat bar, pry bar, or screwdriver will. Maybe in some ways it will, maybe it won't. It's up to you to decide. I'm not going to be prying stuff like crazy with it, but it's cool. I've got plenty of other knives with sharp, delicate tips. You know, I carry multiple knives on me, so this really is, it's cool. It's nice to have that option. More on the features. Now this is where I claim the multi-tool. You got a rescue hook here. And again, rescue, it's, I mean, primarily used for maybe cutting the seatbelt off. Again, what did they, I think I seen somewhere someone posted, or there was maybe a video of it, where someone cut a leather boot, and it actually made quick work of it. So, well, why don't I get into, I'll show you how well it cuts. I got, this is a package I got, you know, bubble wrap lined. I think my flashlights came in here, and I use it primarily. I gotta get a different grip. This is embarrassing. Oh, shucks. Look at that. Just makes quick work of it. I mean, it's, once you get that, ooh, this is crossways. I gotta get it started. Okay, I'm in. Look at that. Just nothing to it. This hook, it's struggling a little bit, but the key to it is to, I'll show you some more while I'm talking here, is to keep it, you know, get a good start on it. Get it, you don't want it binding in there. See how it's kind of binding up? You want to keep it straight. I don't know, rock it back and forth a little bit, or have tension on, there's a key thing, tension on both sides. Look at that. Just rips it right up. I use this for letters and food bags, chips. I opened a bag of Skittles with it today, and actually in class, teacher gave us some Valentine's Day stuff. I opened that up too, just because. 440C it's made out of. I forget if I mentioned that. I don't know if you can replace it or not, but it does have some, oh, I gotta get that focused, some jimping there. Pretty cool, you know, lock in there. It's just a positive detent, non-locking, but it does come out, I mean, pretty quick. Pretty sweet. The other feature that it has is this carbide glass breaker. Now, I got a glass breaker pen a while back, made out of aluminum. Total junk. Try breaking glass with it, and you'll make your glass breaker a lot less threatening. So just keep that in mind. It totally bends the tip, flattens it out. If you want something good, get carbide. And look at that, it's built right into the knife. And this is replaceable. They advertise that as being replaceable. I don't know if this whole piece from here on up comes out, or if just that part does. I'm not sure. But those are your features there. I mean, I don't know what you could use that for other than breaking glass. I mean, you could probably use it to punch a hole, or a non-lethal impact, you know, jabbing that into someone's thigh or whatever. So like I had said, this is a multi-tool, and you can disagree with me if you like. Obviously it's a knife, but obviously it has a wide array of purposes and can be applied or fit into many different systems. And I think that maybe even more for a lot of people than, you know, the EMS role, first responder role, obviously it would excel in that, would be construction work. And that is because I know, or mechanic for that matter, I know a lot of people, good friends of mine. Um, I'm a plumbing or tiling, trenching, same kind. I mean, anything, farm work, something like that. I know a lot of people that have their knives, and they carry a knife religiously with them. Good on them, but they don't have their screwdriver or anything like that. And you see where this is going. You can use this tip obviously as a prying tool. Oh, check out them vertical striations in that blade. Oh my goodness. You can use that tip to pry and not have to worry about busting your pointed tip or dulling it or anything like that. So construction workers out there you go. And hey, the orange kind of fits too. So let's talk about the size and weight of the knife, and then we'll get into the blade more specifically. The overall length of it closed is right about 5 inches, and I don't know, open off the top of my hand, I suppose 5 plus a 3.5-inch blade would put it right at about 8.5 inches. There comes my math skills. The weight is right at 5 ounces. I think it's 4.8 or 4.9, which, if you don't have any concept of knife weight, I would say is upper average. There's a lot of heavier knives out there, and it is heavier. A really nice lightweight knife would be, well, here's in my pocket, the Spyderco Bird knockoff brand, Meadowlark. And this has full stainless steel liners, G10 handle, a lot shorter blade, 2.7. Oh, look at that grime. Check that out. Grime there, and some grime there. Almost identical spots. Anyhow, I digress. This is 3 ounces. It might actually be 3.2. It's a heavy knife because it's built heavy, but it's smaller. Anyhow, that's maybe a comparison for you. But think of the features you're getting. A thick blade, a screwdriver, in essence. 3.5 inches long, steel lined. I got all kinds of gadgets going on here. You can see in there the liners. Here's a better. I'm going to be so... There you get them. They milled them out nicely. Very, very good. This would probably be, I don't know, 6, 7 ounces if those were full steel lined. Anyhow, you're getting, obviously, your rescue hook built right in, which Benchmade varieties you have seen excel in comparison to most other varieties. It's basically a proprietary rescue hook, meaning it's its own entity. Could be its own rescue hook. And you get a glass breaker. I mean, you got a lot of features for 5 ounces. Pretty darn good. So let's, like I said, I guess we can get into the blade now. As I said, it's a reverse bevel, flat nose, stub nose blade. I don't know, whatever you call it. Saber ground, meaning that this side is not sharpened, only that side is sharpened. Saber grinding. So that's that. A lot of people don't prefer that. I don't prefer it either, but for what I'm getting, it does just fine. 3.5 inches long, N690 steel, which is extremely rust resistant. For those of you Spyderco fans out there, not quite to par with Spyderco's H1 salt, which it does not rust, but it's very rust resistant. I don't have direct experience, but I've heard nothing but good things about it. So if you're concerned about that, don't worry about it. A compromise with the rust resistance is it's going to be a little bit softer of a steel, and you can maybe see that my tip is a little bit marred. I mean, it's just, you're going to have to resharpen it a little more often. No big deal. The thickness of this blade is 0.13 inches thick, I think. Obviously it tapers towards the front, but it's thick. You know, it's built well. What else do I have to talk about? Cool Benchmade stamping there. I guess we can get into the thumb studs being on the blade. I really love Benchmade's thumb studs. There's your N690. They don't stick out. They're really flat, but for some reason the suckers just work. Man, they work good. So, and then those vertical striations in that stone washing. How did I have that? Oh my goodness, check that out. Eat your heart out. Man, it's like tiger striped. Anyhow, okay, so that pretty much covers the blade. Well, let's get into one of the coolest things that Benchmade has on most all of their knives. That is the access lock. And this is a tried and true, proven lock. Very, very strong. They torture test them all by putting direct force on right about here, I would say, on the blade, lock it in a vise, and most all of them come up with like 600-700 pounds of direct force on that lock before maybe they'll warp, maybe they'll give just a little bit, but I mean just a unreal amount of pressure, something that you never have to worry about. I mean, but still keep in mind that it is a folding knife. You know, it's not going to be a pry bar. It's not going to be a fixed blade, but excellent. And the speed. I mean, it's fairly simple. Enough said. You pull back both fingers. Oh, I can show you how it works. See that, how it comes away, and then, you know, it's rotating, stop pin there too. I'm all over the place right now, but see that little groove there? Lock. And that's all it is. Very simple. And that's, you know, your stop pin fits into place there. And just like a volt. Go to the lock up here. Mine moves just a hair. I don't think you can hear it. And I could probably tighten it, but it's not that big of a deal. Hair side to side, up and down, nothing. So, is it a big deal for me? No. If it was, tighten it up. You've got your pivot screws there. And you can take the whole knife apart if you'd like. Cool feature. Reverse the pocket clip. I'll get to it. Well, I pretty much covered it. Reverse the pocket clip. But the speed on it is just excellent. Man, it's cool. You know, I know it's maybe a good thing to practice muscle memory and work on the same opening thumb stud way, but I just can't help myself running that access lock. And I do say I'm getting fairly good at it. How about the blade retention? Now this is something that I really noticed was cool because the access lock has springs in there. It works almost like a backlock design where it brings the blade in, doesn't bring it out. It's fully manual, but it is just, I mean, if I want to throw it out, I find that moving it forward rather than that way, and yeah, you can get it, but boy, oh boy, I mean, it's in there. So there's your lockup. And I pretty much covered the strength. Basically all Benchmades are just volt-like, and this one might be an exception for the better, just with the blade in itself, you know, the flat tip, just everything about it is built really nicely. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention on the size, the thickness of this knife is 0.46 inches thick, just under a ½ inch. Perfect, about perfect. Here again, I'm all over the place, but I wanted to show you part of the smoothness. I don't know if you can see them in there, but they have either phosphor or Teflon washers, bushings in there to add to the smoothness. So the handle and clip and the ergonomics of this knife are just plain out cool. I mean, sick orange. G10 handles, which are really nice. They're warm to the touch. There's different texturing of G10. I would, maybe high, medium, and low traction. This is a medium to high, maybe high. Some people would claim that it might rip up your pockets, and I think it would, but my pocket clip is loose enough for whatever reason. I tried tightening it, but it really slides in and out nicely, which concerned me at first. It's like, man, I don't want to lose this knife, but it's held well. You can see a little dirt there. Probably, will get dirty, especially if you're using it for construction, but man, wouldn't that look sick? I'd love to see a picture of one of these with an actual tiger stripe of grease and dirt on the blade and the handle. How sick would that be? That'd mean you'd work the sucker. Maybe the tip chewed up. I mean, that would be just cool. You could probably wash it, scrub it, clean some of that off, but it's just wear that a knife is going to get. The pretty much covered the handle except the pocket clip. Deep carry, blackened variety. I think all come in this black variety. Loop over design is what I mean by the deep carry. So you're going to have that much sticking out of your pocket. Does the glass breaker interfere? No, not. It doesn't poke. The only problem you might have is if you got tight pants or something and just this part of the knife sticking out, but the tip itself doesn't poke. So the ergonomics of this knife, they're not great, but they're not bad at all. I mean, another knife in my pocket, great ergonomics. The paramilitary, you got a nice palm swell, deep choil, one right here, one right here. I mean, that sucker just, it fits like a glove. This one, it's a little cruder, not quite as, it's just squared off, more squared off. You got a little choil here, some jimping here to lock your finger in, and some jimping up top to also lock your finger in, and a little thumb ramp. Now, they're not like Spyderco's jimping at all. They're more rounded off than sharp in this Benchmade variety, but I find if you lock your top thumb in there and apply some back force on this finger and forward on this, it locks in just fine. You can obviously have your grip onto that G10. Anyhow, I mean, enough said there. It's just fine. Not as good as it could be. Could really sharpen that jimping or raise that thumb ramp deep in the choil. Another part of the ergonomics is Benchmade really pays attention to detail and milling away from the thumb stud, both sides for lefties or righties. Really cool little added there. And maybe this goes without saying, but they obviously milled away here as well. And put this flush. I mean, check that out. Totally flush. So, no, it's not going to come out. No big deal. Now, the price of this knife. Benchmade did a little something that I am pissed about. Unilateral pricing. And there was a few knife distributors, I'm not even going to say right now. I mean, if you want to buy it, go search Amazon, Benchmade, Cutlery Shop, Blade HQ. There's, what is it, Knife Center, GP Knives. I mean, there's tons of places you can buy it. But a few of the stores had a really nice discount, like 25% off. And Benchmade said, no, you can't do that anymore. You can only have a, retailer discount, or excuse my lack of terminology, but 15% discount. On Benchmade.com, I think this knife retails for $175 to $85, somewhere right around there, depending on if you want to get black or stonewash blade coating. The stonewash is $10 to $15 cheaper, I think. which I think is way cool. Better looking knife anyhow, and less intimidating. I tell you, you bring this out, someone ever says, "Oh man, you got a knife, what if you're going to stab someone?" You say, "You can't stab anyone with an orange knife." And the funniest thing is people are going to believe you too, because the hype is that, you can't hurt anyone with orange. Never, or even more so, the flat tip. So, anyhow, about $150 now. I got a real good deal on it. I'm not even going to say what I paid for it, because if anybody really wants this knife, you're probably going to sit down and bawl. But $150, you can check around, maybe find it a little more, a little less. So, excellent knife. I would say, especially with Benchmade's warranty, they've got a lifetime warranty and service on things. I haven't had an issue with this, but I'm sure if I would, they'd take care of me just fine. Send it back. I mean, if you're a construction worker, EMS, you want something that you can carry with you and you know is going to work, highly consider this knife. Maybe just for the tip alone. I mean, it's really a unique feature. So, and it's just fun and cool looking. So, enough said. I probably went on too long anyhow, but there you have it. Benchmade 916 Triage. Live AJ out.